Hello and welcome to Independent.ie. I'm Rory O'Connor and I'm joined by Dave Kelly here in the bowels of the Stadio Olimpico about 2.5 hours after the game between Ireland and Italy is finished. And I think I've already forgotten most of it at this stage, Dave. Last time we did one of these, it was after a classic Ireland-Australia game. Not so much today.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of time spent since by all the players not together, and there's a lot of that rustiness show today, a lot of combinations that were new. You've got Sean O'Brien, who hasn't played for 14 months, pulling out in the warm-up, so you've got to bring Tommy O'Donnell in. So there was a lot of disruption. And then you have the classic Ireland-Italy game, which is basically a story of Italy defending all day, making 205 tackles, Ireland having twice as much ball, twice as much territory, and making lots of errors, as Joe Schmidt said and Paul O'Connell said and the players have said. So they weren't their best friends today in terms of the first half. They had 2 or 3 great opportunities to score, which would have opened the floodgates earlier and would have created those holes in the Italian defence earlier, but didn't happen. Ian Keatley nailed a couple of kicks to kind of give them a bit of a buffer, and Italy never looked like winning the game. It was never going to be repeated 2 years ago. And few people kind of remember, the beginnings of great adventures. Hopefully this championship will be a bit like today's game. It got better the longer it went on. Obviously Italy wilted as they defended more, and they need to be much better against France next week.
Yeah, I thought that was the most important thing, was that Ireland didn't let that get to them. They made a lot of mistakes the first half. They could have panicked. It could have got away from them. I mean, there were times where Italy the odd time Italy did get the ball, they didn't look too bad with ball in hand. They just never had it. And after half time, so often under Joe Schmidt, that 10 minutes after half time, when he's had them in for 15 minutes and he gets his message across again, they were so much more improved. Like Jordy Murphy stepped up to play the big way in the second half, and despite that horrible first half that was really, really, just error-strewn and poor, they even though there was a lack of experience in the team as well, they stayed patient and they eventually got their reward. And as you say, if Ireland beat France next week, it won't matter. And also there's all these guys to come back into the team. Your Sextons, your Heaslips, your Healy's, all these guys are coming back in. So it's a case of get in, get out, and move on, and get to that flight.
Yeah, and I mean, they came out early, noticeably early, about 2 minutes before Italy did, and in terms of the inexperience and guys being patient. I mean, Ian Keatley was a classic example of that. He had an early charge down. Even Conor Murray struggled early on, possibly because of the intensity of the occasion, which got to probably in Keatley a little bit. But once he got into the routine of taking his first penalty, he seemed to kind of calm down. And Tommy O'Donnell as well looked a bit starstruck early on. Couldn't get any carries, although he wasn't alone in that. We lacked ball carriers today, which is a big problem ahead of next week. And going forward, and has been a problem, I suppose, before, and that's why we're not maybe creating as much beyond the gain line, because we're not crossing it too regularly. But Tommy got into the game and he was the top tackler and took his try very well. Could have had a second if Paul O'Connell hadn't shoved him into the dirt. And listen, France, we're just watching it here. They're struggling to get into any rhythm as well. But as Joe alluded to afterwards, when you were at the press conference, England have hit the benchmark in this championship so far, and as Joe conceded, Ireland were 30 to 40% off that. They won't be off that level next week. They will improve, and with guys like maybe Keane, Sean, Jamie back, they will be a better team. And
Johnny Sexton, of course, who's passed his concussion protocols, and Schmidt, will have him available. Do you go straight 12 weeks off? Do you throw him straight in against the French, or did Ian Keatley maybe suggest that he might be able to hold on to that jersey?
No, I mean, I think even Ian Keatley himself would admit that Johnny Sexton, Ireland are a better team with Johnny Sexton in it, and Ireland today would have been a much better team with Johnny Sexton in it. So that's a no-brainer. And I think, Jamie Heaslip, we are told, is fully fit. He comes back in. We'll see how Sean O'Brien's hamstring is. It'll be assessed by Monday. Again, you need his ball carrying. You need Cian Healy's ball carrying. I mean, a bit disconcerting that, okay, there are players in the team who aren't noted ball carriers, but a couple of guys maybe didn't carry as well as they should have done today, and that was a bit of a problem. And they tried to ask Simon Zebo to do it as well, which is a bit unfair on him. But listen, it's just rusty. It's for the supporters. It's a day. The sun is back out now, or it's stopped raining, so it's to just enjoy the pizza and the red wine and just kind of reflect on this. Hopefully in March, when there's another championship in the bag, they will hope.